Hey everybody, this is Matt, developer of Streets of Rogue, and I wanted to give you a quick look at the new level editing and workshop features that I have just recently added to the game. So just jumping in real quick, you can actually access the new features by just clicking Start New Game, going to Custom Content, and clicking Level Editor. Now, there's actually 4 different components to the editor. Right now, we're in the campaign editor, which I'll talk about later, but I wanted to start off by showing you the chunk editor. So what exactly is a chunk? Well, chunks are essentially the building blocks of levels, and to give you an example of a chunk, let's see, I'm going to look up one right here that is already in the game. Hang on 2 seconds. If you look at the first screenshot on Steam, it's a screenshot of a bar, and we can take a look at that bar right here. When the game is creating a randomized level, it takes chunks like this one and places them randomly around the level and randomizes different elements of the individual chunk. Like, for example, this right here represents a goon. So one thing that might be randomized in the level is like whether this goon will spawn or not, or maybe the contents of this chest that you see right here. So you can create new chunks from scratch, or you can just take chunks like this existing one and modify them and save them as something new. Every chunk that you see in the game is going to be available for you to mess around with. Like just everything that you see you can modify and learn from. Now let's say we want to mess around with this chunk. Like let's say we want to add some barbed wire for some reason. Well, we go into here, let's say barbed wire. And we got to make sure that we're in draw mode. Okay, so there's 2 modes that we can switch between with the space bar: draw mode and select mode. By the way, if you just click this help button right here, you can actually see all the different commands and some other useful info as well, so I'd recommend checking that out when you use the editor. Alright, so let's draw our barbed wire. Right? Okay, we've drawn that by left clicking. You can also erase it by right clicking, but I'm going to redraw it again just so we have it here. And let's just hit play and see what happens. Okay, so we're in the level, and right now it's just showing us that one. Looks like a little battle has started there. Anyways, there's the barbed wire that we just drew. So it's just showing us this one chunk. The rest of the level is completely blank. All right, let's get out of there. Press escape. So each of the different types of objects that you can add to the scene has its own set of parameters here at the right side of the screen. You can see here, and if you press the help button, actually you can get info on the type of object that you have currently selected. Like right here, I'm seeing help for the NPCs. So I definitely recommend giving that a look. Okay, so let's save our newly modified chunk. Oops, forgot to put a new name there. Let's save it as, just say, new bar. And now I'm going to switch over from the chunk editor to the full level editor. So what you're seeing right here is a representation of an entire level that you would play in the game. The only things in the level right now are the starting elevator chunk and the ending elevator chunk. The editor just puts them there by default. When you start making a level, you can delete them later or move them or whatever. But let's find the chunk that we just created. Oops. And let's go and, what's it called? New bar. Okay. And as you can see, we can mess around with the rotation and direction of the bar. There's a little preview right there to give us an idea of what it's going to look like when we actually place it down. And we just got to make sure we're in draw mode and not select mode. And let's just place that down. And there is our chunk that we created in the level, complete with the stupid barbed wire. And you know what, let's just put a whole bunch more into the level because, you know, why not? And now let's hit play. And we have our level, which is now filled with a whole bunch of bars. Great, awesome. And in addition to placing down chunks, there's a whole bunch of different parameters you can set for the level. Like you can set the district. You can set, if you want a disaster in the level, you can set mutators that are specific to the level. You can set the music that you want, a whole bunch of stuff. So let's just save our level. We'll save it as, let's call it new, how about many bars. Save that file. And now let's go into the campaign editor. The campaign is basically just a collection of levels. It can be 1 level or it can be 99 levels. Literally does not matter. So let's just add the level that we just created to the campaign. What was it called? Many bars. Okay. And let's save our campaign as bars. And you can also set some additional parameters here, like if you want mutators in your campaign that go for the entire campaign as opposed to one single level, you can add that. You can make it so that the player has to play as a specific character throughout the campaign. Like if you want to make a campaign that is, specifically for zombies, you can force the player to play a zombie. But let's go back to the main menu here, and I'm going to show you how you can play this campaign. Go to Start Game, Custom Content, Load Campaign, and here's our tiny 1-level campaign. And as you may have noticed, there's a workshop button here. If you press that, you can submit your campaign to the Steam Workshop. It's a real simple process, as you can see. Don't worry when you first submit. If you do it by accident or something, it's not going to be public for other people to see unless you make it public using the Steam Workshop website. So there's one more editor that I wanted to show you, and that is the chunk pack editor. Chunk packs are basically collections of chunks, as you might expect, but the question is, what are they used for? Well, I'm going to show you. So first off, I'm going to add a bunch of chunks that I've already created to this chunk pack and then save it. What do I call it? There we go. Alright, then I'm going to go back to the main menu. Going to hit Start Game, Custom Content, Load Chunk Pack. And there it is. So what this is going to do is essentially it's going to allow me to play a normal game of Streets of Rogue, but with those new chunks that I added, added to the mix in the game, as you'll see in a second. So if I just walk a little bit up right here, I can see one of the new chunks that I added to the game in that chunk pack, which is this casino with a whole bunch of beds in it for some reason. Now, obviously, this never would normally appear in the game, but because I added it to that chunk pack, it got added to the mix of chunks that are in the game, along with all the normal chunks, like this one here. Here's just a regular chunk alongside this new chunk that I added. So it's just a really good way to add lots of variety to the game. Chunk packs can also be submitted to the Steam Workshop as well, so like potentially you could collaborate with other people and stick all your chunks together into one really big chunk pack, and when you load it up, it'll just add tons and tons of variety to the game. Alright, so that about covers the very basics of level editing. If you get in there and you find that something is really confusing, remember to check out the help buttons. Hopefully that'll clear some of it up, and if you're still confused, let me know, because I'll definitely be making improvements and adding new features based on user feedback. So good luck and happy creating!